Hi, everyone. Welcome to Restitch America. Thank you so much for joining me as we mend the fabric of our nation, one story and one thread at a time. I'm your host, Alma Ohene-Opare, and I'm so happy to be here today. Now, today is our premiere episode for season 3. So thank you so much for all of you who are joining us. I know there are some OG folks who are coming back after a big hiatus, and so much has transpired since we left the show the last time. So our last episode was on February 16, 2024. And that was my 40th birthday. That was the day that my book was released. And I did a little bit of, not an official book tour, but I did a little bit of, I had a speaking engagement and so on and so forth. So much has changed. 2024 was a monumental year, not only for myself, but also for the country. And before we dive into any of this, first, I need your help. So we're building this platform. You're here because you support what we're doing. So one of the best ways to support us is to make sure you're following this podcast. So if you're not following this podcast right now, just pause for a moment and go and click follow on whatever platform you're listening to us on. And if you are watching the video, please subscribe. We're going to be everywhere. It will be on YouTube. If you're on Rumble, just subscribe to the show. And the goal here is, anytime you subscribe, every single subscription helps broaden the platform. It helps other people see it. And also, give us a rating, a 5-star rating, because of course you love the show, right? So thank you so much for joining us today. So I have with me my producer, Jenny Johnson. Hi, Jenny. So I asked Jenny to join me so that with this season 3 premiere opener, so you can get to know her as well. She is going to be a lot of times behind the scenes, but on the days when we don't have any guests, Jenny and I will join you and discuss some of the things that are happening in the country. So I look forward to those experiences. Now, let's talk about some of the things that have happened since we last spoke. Now, some of them, like I said before, are monumental. So for me personally, one of the first things that happened in 2024 was the year that I had my first opportunity to vote for president. Now, I'm not just talking about voting for an American president. I mean, like voting for a president in my entire life. So I left Ghana when I was 19, and I left in a year that was not a political year. So I never had the opportunity to register to vote over there. And I came to America in 2003. It took me about 18 years before I became a citizen. And so 2024 is my first opportunity, or was my first opportunity to vote. And I was just like riding on the clouds on that day. I was so excited to go to the polls and cast my ballot. And my wife also, because we became citizens on the same day. So that was a great experience. And watching the polls come in, and it was quite a night. I didn't sleep. I couldn't sleep. And that was quite a night. But before that election day, we all know what happened, right? The assassination attempts on Trump and how our country was changed fundamentally because of those 2 assassination attempts. So much has happened. And when I experienced that tragedy, especially for those who lost their lives, the thought that came to my mind was, God spared him for a reason. God spared Trump for a reason. And now that I have hindsight, I can look at that and say, yes, he was spared for a reason, because the world would be completely different if that bullet had only been a couple of centimeters to the other side. So that was quite an experience to behold. And since then, another tragedy has happened, and you're all aware of that tragedy. And for me, it's a little more personal. And the reason for that is it happened in my backyard, basically. And what I'm referring to is the assassination of Charlie Kirk. So one of the reasons why it hit me really hard is the fact that I love TPUSA. And a couple of months before I had the opportunity, I was actually invited as a special guest to attend the Student Action Summit with TPUSA in Florida. And so I was there with Charlie and all the great people he had speak over there. And to come home a few months later, to have him be murdered in my backyard here in Utah, that's the last place we would have thought such a thing would happen. And that really hit me. And that is part of the reason why this podcast means so much. We're already planning to launch season 3 before that event happened, but we had to postpone the launch a few weeks because we wanted to gather ourselves and to reset the purpose of this show. Because if we cannot speak boldly of the things we believe, that is completely a deviation from what America stands for. And so my voice, I feel, is a little more important today than it was a few months ago. Because now it is not just a random guy speaking in a camera. It is a person who recognizes how easily we can lose the rights that we have. And if we don't restitch America, if we don't find common ground, if we are unable to get back to the roots of the foundation of this country and why that foundation needs more defenders, then we would lose everything as Americans. And I want to be part of the generation that tries to save it. So the purpose of Restitch America is to provide a platform where we can all have civil conversation. And one of the things I did not want to do is to create a show that tries to find popular people or people who are in the news and to bring them. Because at the end of the day, when you are by yourself in your little neighborhood, you are not talking to TV personalities and celebrities. You're talking to your neighbor. And so as part of this show, we're going to bring you regular people. Now, many of these people may have following on social media, but they are regular people who have jobs, regular jobs, who live in regular communities, who are subject to the policies of the politicians that are ruling. You know, they're either their city councils, their school boards. Those are the people we want to speak to, because I want this show to be a show where you can see yourself sitting in that chair with me. And maybe, I mean, if you're interested, just reach out to us. But I want it to be relatable, because ordinary Americans need to be able to talk to each other again. We need to learn to be civil again. We need to recognize that there's much, much more that unites us. And we need to recognize the voices of division. And we need to be able to push back on those voices. Because when push comes to shove, the lady in the grocery store is not seeking your destruction, right? You may have differences. But if we begin to look at the world as us versus them, it becomes much, much more difficult for us to build together, for us to restore this country. So thank you so much for joining us. This is the place where we can come every single week and find a purpose. I don't want you to come to this show and feel agitated in your soul and go into the world feeling angry. There are other shows that make you do that. That this is not the place for that. I want you to come to this show and leave edified. I want you to leave uplifted. That is why we're Restitching America. And that is why we're part of this platform of Willful Positivity. So let's move on and talk about some of the things to expect in this season. So, and before we continue, Jenny, is there anything you want to contribute to what we're talking about here? How has the time since, we signed off in 2024, February, what has changed for you?
Well, in terms of my family, a lot. And I think something to note is one of the main reasons why we couldn't really get back into the podcast like we wanted is one of them was my fault. I ended up getting pregnant, and usually pregnancy wouldn't stop me, but this one was a little bit different. I have 4 boys, and I ended up being pregnant with my first girl, and she is the caboose. We're not doing it again. I'm done after this. But it was a pretty joyous moment. But then you also had health issues in your family. Your wife, Evelyn, whom I love deeply, she also had her own health issues. So our families weren't without struggle. And so our focus was very family oriented last year, along with all of the things that were happening. But one thing that I was super proud to see Alma do was he kept at it with social media. He kept being involved. He kept being involved with current events as I was nauseous out of my mind. And so, but we spent the last year really taking stock of our vision for Restitch. And I think that's important. I think sometimes the response to a lot of situations is to stay with trend, stay with what's important. But our goal with Restitch is not to always be controversial. We don't want that. We want to create dialogue. We want to create conversations, and we want to create those with people who want the same. And I love, probably one of my favorite parts of Restitch, which I hope the audience enjoys as well, is inviting guests on. We love to invite guests on who have a vision of their own. We want to know about them. We want to know their experiences, whether they're an immigrant that we bring on, whether they're an American citizen who has strong values for this country. We honestly believe that the people who come to this country who are immigrants, like Alma is, have unique visions for this country. They value it in a different way, and we want American people to hear those perspectives. We want them to know what the people coming in, what they see. And that vision ultimately is what brought me to Alma. He has optimism despite all of the things that we've seen in the past, like in 2024 and in 2025. He continues to have this positive outlook, and that is something that I have always thought has been needed, even back when we first started the podcast. And now that it seems that momentum is gaining and more people are noticing, I want people to be able to see Alma's voice, and that is why I'm here. That's why we've both partnered up. I am not someone who's big in the media sphere or anything, but I want Alma's voice out there, and so I've been one of his biggest supporters, and that's something that's needed. We honestly need support in order to make this happen, to make this platform what it is, to bring more positivity out to the world, to be a voice of dialogue. The whole reason we're here is to bring people together, to create dialogue. And that's always what this podcast has been about. And so please support us so we can continue to do that.
Yeah. Thank you, Jenny. So we have some announcements we want to make today, and some of them will be very interesting and exciting for all of us. But like I said before, one of the ways to support us is very easy. Just go follow, subscribe, and finally, share the clips when you see them. Share them. That's the way we can expand this platform. Now, let's get into what to expect in the show. So basically, the way that I want to connect things is going to be very unique. So we've built a platform called Willful Positivity. So that's my social media handle, Willful Positivity. So if you go to willfulpositivity.com, That is where you're going to get access to everything we're working on. So that is our main platform. So get familiar with that platform, willfulpositivity.com. So when you go to willfulpositivity.com, you will be able to see a link to the podcast. You will also be able to see a link to a project I'm working on that I'm going to talk about here in a second. But what we do with that platform is when you subscribe to our Willful Positivity platform, you will receive every single day a devotional from me. So it's going to be, actually, let me give you a background of it. Over the years, I would come up with posts and post on Facebook. And one day I decided to go to Facebook and download all my posts over a period, I think, of 5 years. So I went and downloaded all those posts. So I have a post for almost every day of the year. And so with the devotionals, what I do is I take one of those posts, which is usually a quote from me, and then I attach that post to a scripture, and then I give some commentary on it. So you're going to see a post that contains a quote, and then you're going to get a scripture and then a commentary on that. And then I also give you something to do, because like I said, the goal here is not for you to listen passively. I want you to feel like you're part of us. You're part of the movement. And that means that you have to do something. You have to be involved in something. And so at the end of every devotional, I give you something practical to do. And so always look for that. And then there's also a poll at the end to kind of get an insight into how you're thinking about the issue that we're discussing. So you're going to get this every single day. I haven't missed a day since we started. So every single day you're going to get a devotional. So that's awesome. But also you will get an article, and I'm writing articles every single day as well. And then how do we connect all these things together? When a guest is coming to the show, we will select one of those articles and we will give it to them, and that will be the basis of our discussion. And of course, we will interweave that with what is happening around the country and what is happening in the news. But that will be the basis. So if you're connected on willfulpositivity.com and you're subscribed to us, then you will already have an into the discussions we're going to have on the podcast with our guests. So it connects everything together and it brings everything full circle. So this is something you would enjoy very much, because you will have your own ideas about the article and you will hear what the guest thinks about different parts of that. And so that's going to be the basis of our discussion. And I think it's going to be a unique way of doing things. I don't think anybody else in any other podcast platform is doing that. So that's going to be unique to us. So the next thing that we will be doing, or the next thing to expect, is that we're going to have an episode every Wednesday. So I know this premiere episode is coming out on Thursday because there's a lot to do, a lot to do to get it out. But expect that we're going to have a new episode every Wednesday morning, and we're going to submit it very early in the morning. So those who are driving to work, you can just turn it on and listen to it and get inspired for the week. And so expect every Wednesday morning to get a new episode from us. And if there are any disruptions to that schedule, we'll let you know in advance. So that's another thing to expect. Now, here's another announcement, which I think is pretty awesome. So many years ago, I felt like the voices of legal immigrants were not being heard in America. Every time you turn the TV, the focus has been on illegal immigration and the plight of illegal immigrants. And when you hear, especially Democrats talk, they always talk about a path to citizenship for illegal immigrants. And I have told you guys, it took me 18 years to become a citizen. And so why don't they talk about the legal immigration system? Why are there not more voices platformed of legal immigrants? And I feel like we're in a country today where some people, especially our youth, are disillusioned about America. They've been told that the American dream is no longer available to them. And I believe legal immigrants have a very unique perspective that needs to be amplified because we understand where we came from. We understand the struggles that we had to deal with growing up. We understand the loss of rights and freedoms. We understand all the things that make America great and exceptional. And those voices need to be amplified. And I feel like if we amplify the voices of legal immigrants, we can leverage those voices to rekindle patriotism in this country. So many years ago, I attempted to establish a nonprofit for the purpose of elevating the voices of legal immigrants. The name of the nonprofit is Legal Immigrants for the Restoration of America. I'll say it again so you get it. Legal Immigrants for the Restoration of America. And the acronym is LIFTRA, LIFTRA, LIFTRA. And so LIFTRA is a nonprofit. And the news I have today is we're not just a nonprofit registered in the state of Utah. We are a recognized 501c3 tax exempt organization. We just got that last week, that recognition. And I am just so excited because what this allows us to do is to raise funds for a project that is near and dear to my heart. And every donation that goes to LIFTRA now is tax exempt. So that allows us to do a lot more work with the little that we get. And so once again, if you go to willfulpositivity.com, you will see a link for LIFTRA, and you can click on that link and go check out the foundation website, the charity website. So Legal Immigrants for the Restoration of America. I'm really excited for that. And our inaugural project for our organization is something I call the Voices of Immigrants. So basically, we know that this year is our 250th anniversary. We are already in our 250th year, but it will all culminate on July 4th, 2026. And so what I wanted to do with LIFTRA was to gather the voices of legal immigrants and to have them share their experiences with us. I want them to share why they chose America and why they believe in the future of America. I want them to explain where they came from, what makes America unique and special. And what we're going to do with that is we're going to have a documentary that we will premiere the week before the 4th of July. So we have between now and that time to prepare. So here's an invitation. If you know any legal immigrants who would love to share their stories, please ask them to reach out to us. And the way they can do that is to go to willfulpositivity@gmail.com. willfulpositivity@gmail.com. Just reach out to us and we will contact them and get them scheduled for a recording. So the idea here is very simple. They will come on, we will record remotely through a platform like this, and they will be able to share their stories. And the cool thing here is these stories are not just for the audience who will listen to it, but for those immigrants as well. It will help them share their experiences with their posterity, right? And I think it's going to be a beautiful thing. I'm really excited for this. So if you know any legal immigrants, or if you happen to be a legal immigrant and you want to share your story, please reach out to us at willfulpositivity@gmail.com. What do you?
You know what? As you were talking, I was thinking of just the thing that you mentioned earlier about Charlie. It's so important that we have good voices out here. It's important that we have strong voices that are willing to create dialogue and to create positivity and put good content out in the world. And that is something that we've been striving to do for the past 2 to 3 years. And especially in this moment, and especially with the past 2 months that we've had as we've been preparing, and all of the chain of events that have taken place as we've been preparing, it's been huge. This has been a lot of work. It's been difficult, but then rewarding at the same time. But when we say we need your support, we're completely honest in that. Something that was very clear when Charlie passed was the need for people to actually organize and speak up. And that's something that I felt keenly. I know you felt keenly. We both realized we have to be more active. We can't be as passive as we have been. And this is our way of doing that. This is our way of bringing more voices out there, highlighting what's the best about America, but then also bringing good values into the world, bringing good voices into the world, and trying to drown out all the negative, all the bad, all the violence that we've been seeing. We want to be one of those voices that is just as strong as Charlie's. And we need more people like that. And if you're someone who's been sitting and going, what can I do to be a voice as well? Well, this is a start. Be willing to come on this podcast, be willing to support. Don't just scroll past. Make sure you like, make sure you comment, make sure you engage with us. Your voices matter. Even if you're just on your social media accounts and you're scrolling through, you can share your voice. We want to hear it. We want to hear your stories. And so I'm going to encourage you to, post with the hashtag Restitch America. Share with us your stories, share with us your values. What brings you closer to American values, and what are they? We want to know your stories. We want to know your voices, and we want to highlight them, because that's what makes this country amazing, honestly. It gives renewed purpose to all of us to know how we are more connected and how we see things together instead of like divisively how we've seen it in the media. I think like you've said before, there's more things that connect us than separate us. And honestly, I hope that people see that. I hope they see what we're trying to do, and I hope you actively support it, because the more you support us, the more you like us, the more you tell us what you want to see from us, it helps us refine. I see it as that refiner's fire, right? Where we are learning how to get better as we go. If you listen to our episodes in season 1 versus our episodes now, we're drastically improving. But part of me, I don't want to remove those, because I think it shows people who want to create content as well that there's always a starting point. There's always room for improvement. There's always way to be better. But even more so, our goal has always been to create dialogue. It's always been to hear stories. It's always been to be that positive voice. And I don't think that's ever going to change. I don't think we're ever going to be the aggressive attackers. We always want to be the teachers. We want to be the people who talk, to connect. And ultimately, I think that that's what's needed. And I think that that was confirmed even after Charlie's death, was that I want that to go in the world, or we want that to go in the world. We want to be the voices to bring that. And I have to tell you, I am so excited for LIFTRA. I can't wait to highlight people. I can't wait to get to know people. One of the best parts of this job is to be able to get to know the people who come on our show, that are part of Restitch America, and to make that also a part of LIFTRA, to make a documentary of people's stories and allow that to inspire more Americans. That's like the dream. And so please support this dream, because we want to make this reality. We want to bring this to people, and we want to bring this to every single American.
Thank you so much, Jenny. We're approaching the end of this first episode. And so just a couple of things that I want to restate so that you remember them. First things first, go and follow us on this platform you're on, give us a rating as well. Give us a 5-star rating. We need that to build the platform. You guys are the pioneers of this platform, the Willful Positivity platform. And so all the support we can get, we appreciate it. And we thank you in advance for your support. Number 2, go and subscribe to Willful Positivity. So go to willfulpositivity.com and put in your email. And the subscription is free. Of course, if you want to support us even further, you can subscribe to the monthly fee. However, the goal here is to just keep you in the loop of conversation. So if you are a paid subscriber, you get a couple of extra benefits. And some of those benefits we will be announcing over time. But one of them will be the opportunity to be on a live stream with Jenny and I every now and then for the purpose of having a direct connection with us. We don't want to be the podcasters who are, sitting in some high tower where you can't reach us. We want to have dialogue with you because we believe, like Jenny said, we need to relearn how to be civil with each other. So we're going to have exclusive live events that you will be able to attend if you're a paid subscriber. But either way, just go to the platform willfulpositivity.com and put in your email so you can at least start receiving the daily devotionals. And then, of course, the articles as well. So you will receive the articles, which will be the basis for our podcast discussions every single week. I'm looking forward to this awesome season. And we have a lot of content already prepared. So one of the things that we were able to do was we're able to get a lot of our episodes already pre-made. And because these episodes are ready to go, we will have a stream of awesome content that will be available to you. And then also, anytime we are preparing for an episode, we will release clips from that episode. So go ahead, when you see them on social media, please like them, please follow them, please share them so we can drive more people into the show. I know I'm asking a lot. I get it. I think one day look back and say, I was part of this. I was part of this movement. And you're already here. So thank you for doing that. But if we can do the next step and get more people here with us, it will be immensely valuable to all of us. So thank you so much for joining us on this premiere episode of season 3 of Restitch America. It was nice to have you here. And always remember that we have so much more in common. So go into the world and think of the people who are on the opposite side of you. Always think of them as potential converts to your cause. That is how I look at the world. And so when I look at people, I say, they may not currently know that we agree. We just need to get them to that point. And so they are potential converts. And that changes your complete perspective when you're dealing with people you oppose. So adopt that. Think of your opponents as your potential converts and come back next week and let's have a productive conversation. Thank you so much for listening to the show. We'll see you then.